Hey everybody. One of my more recent articles was actually talking about how Meta Athena would go do the unthinkable, go 20 and 0 or 25, whatever it would be, in 0 and coast through the Challenger Series and go straight to the finals in a Royal Road, which would be a first for Overwatch. And in the article I talk about that they could do it and kind of build up the story, and in this video I want to talk about the how they could do it and why I think they will do it. So, like I said, Meta Athena is a team that came from Challenger Series, from Season 1 into Season 2. They are a very creative team. They're not known to be insane like aimers. They're not like known to just go in like bonkers and individual skill, which they can do at times. But they're more cerebral in a way, I think. And I know that word gets kind of tossed around a lot in esports, but I really think this team is something special, and I think they're really ahead of their time in terms of doing their homework on a lot of teams and taking their strategies and breaking them apart and creating a counter strategy. I think that they play the maps really, really well. What kind of jumps out as great examples are King's Row, where they like to run double sniper. They also like to run May and Reaper, and this was technically back in the Beyblade meta, but you could also see the concepts being used where they rush around the opposite side of point A. They go up top, they drop down, wall them into the Reaper and the Roadhog, and they collapse and force those really close engagements that allow those heroes to excel. Another one that kind of jumps out, still on King's Row, the same kind of composition, but instead of a Reaper, we have a Widowmaker. Saya player likes to play Widow, so they put him on top of the spawn room at the very high perch, and they run around, as I said before. They drop down, they wall them in, and push the enemy team back into Saya player's sight lines, and he has free reign on to who he can pick and just take really nice shots at. But like I said, they're very creative. They have all kinds of different things. Another one that jumps out is the Eichenwald boost strat that they had was really cool. But you can kind of see with all those examples that they are very creative. They're great. They're great. They also have like an insanely deep bench, and what I mean by that is each of the players on the team, barring a few, I think barring Nuss and Changsik, I think that they're probably arguably top 3 at their role. I would argue. Saya player is probably on the border. I think he's probably like 3rd or 4th best at his role. But players like Libero, I think he's probably top 3 under like Flower and Tavik on how diverse and how good he can be at multiple different champions and different roles. Even he can go from hard carrying one game with Hanzo or Genji into playing a more defensive role as Diva, or again like you could swap to Pharah and carry really, really hard. Chris, probably one of the best Lucios in the game right now, I'd say. You look at those supports, and I think that's something that Korea has a really nice breadth of skill. When it comes to the supportive backlines, I think they actually really have amazing support lines, and I think Chris is it would be interesting to actually see who does the calling on Meta Athena, because if he does the calling, I think that just increases my evaluation of him even higher, knowing that he can actually deny a lot of these engagements, has wonderful swapping between healing and speed boosts. I think he has great use of sound barrier. I think they're always crisp, and I think that's something that's really important when it comes to a team, is being able to identify when your ultimate should be used and using it accordingly, and I think Chris does that perfectly, or really well, I should say. Hoon, another person that is like probably top 3 at their role. He is a flex player, so he's playing your Zaryas, and Hoon's not known to play much else but Zarya. That's the weird part. I think his Winston's okay. I wouldn't put him top 3 at Winston. but his Zarya is really really good because they play around it, or that's their style to play around it is very strong. In their match versus Afrika Freaks Blue, we did see them kind of diversify their style a lot and really kind of show us that they aren't just one-trick ponies where they dump everything into Hoon and Prey and take really big team fights. But let's get into some of these pathways that they can make it out of the group stage of playoffs and into the deeper runs of the tournament. So Friday they're going to be playing against Kongdu Panthera, and I think the biggest proponent of them winning the entire season 2, the whole championship, is starting off on the right foot. In their match versus Afrika Freaks Blue, they really did not have a great start. They dropped Ilios, which they were previously undefeated, in a very kind of sloppy fashion. Calls weren't clear, it seemed like. There was a lot of just odd plays, and they started to pick it up towards the end of the series. And what's really interesting is that a team like Kongdu Panthera, who we look at and we're like, wow, what a strong team. Rascal, Evermore, just insanely talented. Waka Waka, Fisher making a splash, being one of the newer pickups for them. Bling being pretty solid. Luffy in the match against LW Blue hit some crazy sleep darts, and his biotic grenades were really, really, really good. The team's really strong, but in that match versus LW Blue, they also had a really slow start, even though that I think that they were probably outplayed LW Blue throughout the entire set after rewatching it a few times. I think that they just kind of got styled on by Flower a little bit. Those reflects really cost them a couple games, and it's tough to really play around that kind of stuff. Yeah, you could play a little bit safer, you could kind of cross your eyes and dot your T's, but such is life. So the big thing is Meta Athena getting off on a strong foot versus KDP, and it's possible that they could take them out on Friday. I don't necessarily think they will. I think that they probably will lose, probably 3-1, I would guess. But if they were to win, I would say that, again, that their creativity and counter strategy comes into play. And the problem with KDP, Kongdu Panthera, I'm sorry, is that Evermore and Rascal both play on the wings, right? They're very far away majority of the time from their team, depending on if they're on attack or defense. They play the flanks very heavily, and if Meta Athena does their homework well, which I'm pretty sure they will, and they kind of identify this as a weakness and they can punish it accordingly and kind of make this weird counter strategy where they really pick apart KDP, it's possible that they could. I would probably give Meta Athena a 40-60 chance. I think a lot of people are sleeping on this team, even though they're really fun to watch because they're creative and do all kinds of wacky crazy stuff, but they're actually really good. I think that you should not sleep on Meta Athena. They're actually surprisingly strong. But like I said, I don't think that they're going to win versus KDP. I think they're going to lose 3-1. So that drops them down to the losers bracket where they're likely to play Luxury Watch Blue, LW Blue. And this is a team that is the kind of quintessential superstar power team, but then also it seems like their communication and teamwork breaks down when they're under pressure. So seeing that they're already in the losers bracket and Meta Athena can pick apart these issues within the match, I don't think they'll have. I think it'll be a good match, but I don't think Meta Athena has not any shot. I would give it probably a 70-30 in Meta Athena's favor, just for the simple fact that if they're already under pressure, Luxury Watch Blue that is, I don't see them playing to the degree that they did versus Kongdu Panthera. I think they came into that match knowing that it was going to be a sit-down brawl, and it was going to be a win by the skin of their teeth. They did play really well, but I do have to fault Mako. He has really, really suspect ultimates on Zarya. They weren't particularly that great. He was shooting them like halfway across Hanamura. There's a couple I want to say on Numbani that were pretty long range. Granted, you could say that he was safe in doing that, but there again, like the Hanamura example, he shoots it from the top left to top mid. Rascal walls it off, and nothing gets accomplished from it. So again, you could kind of like, there's a lot of things that you could say, wow, go into that. Is it the calls? Is it just a misplay? Is it an individual misplay? Whatever it could be, a miscall maybe. Regardless, I think Meta Athena can take that in the losers bracket pretty handedly. Like I said, 70-30, so it'll probably be like a 3-1, 3 or a close 3-2. I don't think it'll be 3-0. I think Luxury Watch can definitely take a map. But I think a lot of it, again, for Meta Athena stems off of having the right foot forward and having a strong opening and kind of continuing the momentum from there. Now, let's take a look at each of those brackets and how they'll play off depending on if they get out first seed or second seed. So if Meta Athena gets out first seed, which means that they beat Kongdu Panthera on Friday, they're likely to play against Runaway. And this one again, this one's a little bit tougher. I think that Runaway is on the upswing, but I'm still not sold on. I think Kaiser definitely kind of outclasses Chongsik, but it comes down to Stitch and the rest of the DPS squad from Runaway and the calls that Runner makes and whoever they play, because they do actually have a large roster, so it really kind of depends. But I think that one's going to be a really close set. But again, I think that Meta Athena brings a card to the table that nobody else really can bring in terms of creativity and the way that they actually play Overwatch. They play a very smart style of Overwatch. They use the map and the champions. It's a very synergistic style of play where they pick the map and then they have a set strategy for the map that suits the map and the way that they're going to play the map. And it's almost like in trading card games, like a combo deck. It's like everything has purpose, everything kind of chains together, and it's really kind of fun to watch. It's very explosive and very interesting. So let's say they beat, well, I guess they have to beat Runaway, which would send them into the finals versus the winner of Kongdu Panthera and Luxury Watch Blue in the rubber match versus Lunatic High. Whoever that might be, again, I still think Lunatic High could beat both of those teams, but I still think it's a toss-up. We could see Kongdu Panthera, Luxury Watch Blue, or Lunatic High in the final. It's really up in the air on that one. But yeah, no, I think that Meta Athena has a long road ahead of them. But I think, like I said, they bring a type of style and that flair to the table that nobody else really does. And I believe that's how they win Apex Season 2. So you guys have a good night, and GG.